Between the episodes on Eisenholm. It started out like any other day. I did a little smithing, sat tight during a temporal storm, and got a new batch of iron blooms firing in some new bloomeries. Then heading outside, I cleared up all of the rock slabs that have been cluttering the entry to the workshop for far too long. While I waited for the iron to finish, I smelted a batch of tin bronze ingots to make some more lanterns in an effort to stop the constant monster attacks in what honestly should be a safe and secure workshop. As the ingots solidified, I took stock of the reserves of various rock types we had in the lodge, since one of the projects on the docket for today, we're gonna need a lot of rock of a lot of different types. With inventory levels noted and shopping lists written haphazardly on the back of an old receipt, I set out into the dead of winter. My first stop, the meteor impact site I marked on the map all the way back in episode 1. We've finally come full circle. I wasn't here for the meteoric iron, though, and actually contemplated chiseling it for use as decoration, and that's something I may still do with some of the other impact sites. I really like that texture. But what I was really after was slabs of suevite. Over the next couple days, I ventured out collecting slabs of several other rock types I would need for my plans before eventually returning home, erecting a makeshift safety railing around the lava hole path, and collecting a few stacks of basalt. Not only will basalt be needed for one of the decorative builds today, but it's also what all of the decorative ventilation piping throughout the workshop will be made out of. After collecting a few stacks, I popped back up into the workshop and dug a ladder shaft from the western room down to the basalt generator. This way I could eventually cover up the gaping hole outside and have a safe passage to and from that chamber. Afterward, it was time to hammer those tin bronze ingots into plates, and use some of the new iron blooms to finish our trifecta of helvhammer heads. I could go for 4 helvhammers in total, but I think 3 will look a lot cleaner once the smithing room is decorated. So as the sun shone brightly outside, betraying how cold it actually was, I stayed within the warm, darkened confines of the workshop playing with machinery. Despite the constant combat, the work continued, as a terrible flu began to fully sink its claws into me. Once the helvhammers were in place and hooked up, I took the rest of the linen on hand and got quite a few more of those windmills all sailed up. Come spring, that first flax harvest of the season should finish off the remaining sails, and then some. With all that sorted, I placed the new batch of lanterns around to light up any dark spots. And that brings us to today, where since I'm dubbing this over in post since I was very sick at the time, let's jump straight into a massive decorating time-lapse. So that's what the sun looks like. 2 months. I was building in there for 2 whole months. Well, 2 days shy of 2 months. I started in there on January 5th. It's now March 3rd. I've been subsisting on onions for the last few days. All of the food that I made from harvesting the Generation 3 pigs, I have eaten it all. Every single bit of it. I don't even have the crock left in my inventory. It's all gone. Used to fuel a building expedition and the likes of which this world has never seen. We got all those crocks back up there. I even had to put a crock on the counter because we ran out of room. Rabbit's still trapped down here. I should make more food. But before I restock the pantry, let's take a little look at what all we've accomplished so far this episode. There was a couple more things that I had that I wanted to get done, but with all of the time it took building what I have built, those are going to have to be for a little later. The entrance, for one, is something I wanted to get done, but I'd at least have all of the design worked out for it, so I know the exact footprint, what kind of blocks, how many blocks I'll need. So when I do work on the entrance here, it won't take all that long. I hope. I didn't think a lot of this other stuff was going to take a long time, but it did. So let's take a look at what all we've accomplished. Let's start at the beginning. So the first thing I want to go over is these large brick floors. Now these were just made with polished granite and regular granite, and kind of just made so that the outline of that polished block looks like it connects all the way over these 2 blocks. Makes for something just a little bit different. And so then slapping this mural design over top while still keeping those two wide giant brick textures, that was a bit of a challenge. I don't want to think about how many blocks were used in this, but there's not much left out of what I gathered. I mean, even just looking at this, you can see how many blocks went into a single block there just to get all of the proper shades. I had to stop filming the montage for this about halfway through because I realized I was spending more time looking at the reference art, making sure everything was pixel perfect, than I was actually putting down voxels. That and I ate through chisels and pantographs and even a paintbrush or two. This has been a lot of building, a lot of chiseling. The staircase here, definitely not the final design. You can see there's a voxel missing there. I'm contemplating turning this into the same brick staircase as I've got over in the smelting room. That's why I haven't done anything with that side yet. Still debating. But the design for this mural is a bit of a mix of two different things. First part is this Moradin holy symbol. Found that online. I will link the artist and the link to this image itself in the description. And then the surrounding design is actually from the entryway of the dungeon map that I've used to kind of give a general plotting out of at least the base shape of this. Also, we have friends in the dark room that now leads down to the basalt chamber. But we're going to ignore him for now. These rooms, still not done yet. This is probably going to be where I store all the fuel. Maybe. It might be a little bit far from where we're going to use the fuel, so I am still debating on if that's going to be convenient or if I should add a section in one of the other rooms. This is, well, we're not going to open it. It's just a hallway that leads to a ladder down to our basalt, where the lava is. But now for the grand reveal of the big chamber. Let's make this a bit of a cinematic reveal. Oh, look at that. Many chisels have died in the creation of this chamber. So I created slightly arched designs for all the support columns and little bracings in between our recessed areas here. And we'll go up on the balconies in a second there just to see what plans there are for the walls. Those aren't quite done yet. But this is the covering for our steel furnace. I'm thinking of maybe adding iron doors to the openings there just to obfuscate what's going on back there. And probably replacing the peridotite on the back wall there. And this creative glow here, that is exactly what we were using those Jonas paintbrushes for. The gray dye was to get that cyan color right there, and the white dye was to make it brighter. So they do act as light blocks, which is wonderful, and that's kind of why that wall goes a little bit bluey. There is a little bit of a glitch with, probably due to all the chiseling that's going on around here, where sometimes I have to rotate these blocks after signing into the game just to have them glow again. But that's okay, it's a small price to pay for beauty. The smithing room is not done yet. But the smelting room, we've got a table here with all of our nails and strips and ingot molds. We still need another iron hatch door here for the third coke oven, but we've kind of spaced them out a little bit, give it a little bit of a gap from the door here. And right now, we just have an aged wooden door to the currently undecorated fueling station under the ceramics kiln, but that's okay. Got some decorative columns, some trim. The ceiling is done. It's simple, but it's done. I realize that's not quite done, actually. I added a little bit of a trim around the door just to make it feel a little bit more similar to the window. Someone pointed out last episode how it looked a little out of place without a proper frame around it, and I agree. So that needs a few more voxels to be done, add a block in the corner there, and then, yeah, thicken up that slate a little. But then that brings us to the man of the hour. This is where our crucibles will be, in the elongated lower jaw of this figure, which I'm now realizing really kind of looks a little bit silly, like he's eating them, but I like it anyway. And a lot of these dwarven designs were based off of concept art that I found, which I will also be posting in the description if you want to take a look and see what the inspiration was for a lot of this design. And as I consume an onion here, or several, I do want to talk about design inspiration today, because that's kind of the theme of everything that's been going on so far. But before I get too far into that, we do have these blank walls here, just in between columns. I'm thinking of putting in maybe pixel art based off of the different tapestries in-game, perhaps. Or possibly even just other custom pixel art, who knows? Something decorative on here. Whether it's schematics or just artwork, I don't know yet. But in any case, this place is coming together quite a bit. Just like back in episode 9, being sick really brings out the building extravaganza. So for the moment, let's go back to the house, cook up a few meals, and talk about design inspiration and kind of just a general build process. I'm so proud of myself, I didn't even make the wrong things, except for that one time when I was making the steel furnace cover and I used the wrong blocks. Then I painted over them, I fixed that. I don't think I ever fixed the birch windows I threw onto the house. Maybe I shouldn't build between fever dreams. Okay, so while I'm in the midst of cooking enough batches of food to hopefully get us through the rest of the winter, let's talk about design philosophy. I get a lot of questions asking about my build process, how I come up with a design in the first place, and where things go from there. And well, let me tell you, I'm about to reveal all the secrets, and it's none too complex. I hope. I don't think it's that complex anyway. Oh. So in my day-to-day life, I do a lot of traveling around. And every time I come across something that looks kind of neat with a design of a building that I'm seeing out in the real world there, I take a mental note. Sometimes, if I'm allowed to, I take a picture. Cool fireplaces, feature walls, architecture on the outsides of buildings, anything that just piques my interest as something neat. And I do something that I'm sure a lot of people do when they get really obsessed with the game. Everything I look at out in the world, I imagine the block palette. I look at some nice wooden designs on a building and I don't think, hey, what kind of wood is that actually? I think, what color of wood in-game does that look like? Is it more of a pine or an oak or maybe a walnut? And then even for modern buildings, that plastic vinyl siding? Well, that's just different types of rock depending on what color and tone you want. Chiseled, of course, to have the little bit of waviness. When I'm looking to build something very specific, I'll typically either look through pictures that I've accumulated of different things that resemble what I'm going for, and just search around online using any sort of keywords that resemble the thing I'm trying to make. So for instance, this kitchen. Once I compiled enough images together, searching through cottages, English kitchens, things like that, I got a few different design aspects that I knew I wanted. The tile floor with the little checkerboard pattern, the dry stone, cobblestone type walls, the wooden lintel, that beam there above the window. And once I'd chosen kind of different designs based on different images that I came across, put them all together in a test world to make sure they looked proper together. And that's probably one of the big keys as well, is just testing things out in creative before you commit to doing it in an actual survival world, especially with how long it takes to do things in Vintage Story. Then once I've confirmed that everything looks good, nothing's clashing, once I've built it all together in a creative test world, then I start looking at the practicality of it. And honestly, sometimes with builds it starts with the practicality and the design builds around that. But for the kitchen, there were aspects I knew I needed, like the stove, and a water source for bread, and a place to bake bread, and shelves for crocks, storage, as well as design compromises to keep everything sealed as an interior space, so I could stay nice and toasty inside in the winter. That's why on the outside of the walls I had to add an extra layer to do some depth instead of chiseling inward on both sides, because it doesn't like when you do that. If you chisel in on both sides of a wall, it's no longer insulated. But I think you can remove up to about half the material on a single side, or something like that. Unless you don't care about it sealing as an actual room, then go for it. Do whatever you want. Have fun. Going through my process is all well and good, but one of the best pieces of advice I can give, just copy designs. That's how almost everybody starts. Find a build tutorial, follow along, maybe change a thing or two, just see what kind of little creative tweaks you can do to it. Over time, you start to familiarize yourself with the style and maybe branch out into other styles, and you just start adding more and more experience under your belt, and then, hey, one day you're building a whole bunch of stuff. But always, and I mean always, reference images are so good. So handy for building things, even if you're almost doing a one-to-one copy into a completely different medium, like that concept art to the 3D builds. This is how we learn. I haven't really built in a dwarven style like this before, so it was a very nice learning opportunity, and yeah, I picked up a few little tips and tricks here, and I should be able to make more of my own custom designs the next time I take on a task like this. It's all about learning and improving. I've already stated a couple times before that I've built Blue Nerd's castle from the other block game more than once. Each time I changed things just a little differently here and there, and started to incorporate my own ideas into it while still following along on the tutorial. And I've been able to take a lot of what I've learned from doing that and, well, start to come up with a design for my own castle here. There's definitely still inspiration being taken with some of the aspects, but chiseling has opened up a whole new world of things, and so there's a little bit of design being taken from actual castles, and honestly, kind of just playing around and seeing what I like the look of. That's probably the last piece of advice I have. Play around with things. Spend a few hundred hours in creative mode, just chiseling. See what you come up with. Oh, there's a temporal storm on the way. Oh, I forgot about that. Get out of my way. Oh, it's a good thing it didn't prop up when I was in the middle of talking. And I'm still working on a new bunker, so that was just a little too technical while I was sick to use some brain power towards. I was a little bit cognitively hampered, shall we say. Yeah, this is kind of what my brain felt like. What? No. Do paths not stop spawning anymore? This is unacceptable. Hoist by my own Jean-Luc Picard. Oh, things really are still spawning in places where they shouldn't be. Oh, jeez. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Please fall in the soup. Please fall in the soup. You're all terrible. Horrible, horrible, horrid creatures. Oh. It appears even the bunker is not safe. Shame. Well, first time that's happened. Terrifying. Hated that. Oh, sir. I don't like it. That's, unfortunate. Okay. Hopefully 1.20.10 fixes that. Otherwise, if they are now intending to be able to spawn on wooden paths, spawn proofing for the new battle pit thing is gonna have to... That's gonna have to take that into account. Okay. Well then. Sandwiching myself into a crouching only chiseled block space that is offset from the regular grid, that's gonna have to happen. Don't worry, that'll make sense when I'm actually building the thing. So let's forget that ever happened, and head on back to the workshop for a second here. Safety. Safety and beauty. So, mechanical room. So I'm sure you've noticed that the mechanics here have grown. We now have 3 helve hammers, and a whole bunch of extra chiseled blocks back there that I will have to use for something. Maybe I will do that flat roof design for the entryway. I have a couple of the crown molding pieces. I should probably do that. But regardless, let's figure out a little bit more organization for where exactly all of the mechanics are going to sit. And maybe bring that gear over closer here so we have a much closer break-off point for connecting the pulverizer that's still in a chest, as well as maybe hooking up the quern. So let's do a little bit of reconfiguration here. Break a few things here. Move that down.
Get these chests move out of the way here for just a moment here.
This is all gonna have to go. All gonna have to go. All right. That's looking about right so far.
Gonna have to clear out a bit more of this though. It's
Once I've built the storage room, it'll be a little bit easier to get all this just tucked away somewhere inside what is currently a slab of rock. Okay, you're gonna need 3 more transmission and clutches and a lot more angled gears and a lot more axles. Then we can start to get this all pieced together. Oh, these don't stack. Oh no. Is there any room in this chest? Can I can put some things away? Let's clear out the inventory a bit. We're gonna need a bit of room for mechanical parts now. Pop that there. Got that there. There we go, 4. Now we need 4 clutches in total, so 3 more. Nice, nice, nice. Did I run through all my fat? I'm gonna need far more than 8 angled gears. Uh-oh. Whoops, I made an extra transmission. Ah, that'll be for the granary then.
Sometimes you do a little whoopsie-doopsie, but then you hopefully can use it for something else. I'm being shot at and chased by Spider-Man. It's like Spider-Man from that one episode back from the 90s one where there was a crossover with the X-Men. Terrifying. Ah, pop you there until I need you later.
Was there another stack of fat in here, or was that my entire... That was my entire collection. We've got a problem. Uh-oh. I don't think we're gonna have nearly enough angled gears to do all of the very tightly compacted machinery that I want to get done. Okay. We're gonna have to prioritize. At the very least, we'll get the Helvhammer set up. It might take until the next generation of pigs for us to finish our mechanical machinations. Let's get in place what we can, and then move on from there. There we go. And we'll just leave the quern up there like a giant skep. So the plan for this little thing here and this whole contraption is from that one spinning gear. I'm going to have multiple lines coming off of it. I left the 4 sides of it free. Would I have any? No, I can't go any closer. Okay. Actually, that is still free. I just have to carve out a bit of the wall. Excellent. There we go. Save on gears.
Make a little bit of space here.
Now let's double check that's all hooked up. Nice. Beautiful. So, for the moment, at the very least, we have the Helvhammers hooked up. And this is going to be Helvhammer, Pulverizer, Quern, and Pottery Wheel. Some of this wiring, well, I say wiring, but some of these mechanics are going to have to go a little underground. Can I make more? I don't have fat. I can't make more axles. Oh, I can at least get the beginnings of the line going into the transmission for the pulverizer in place, but I need more fat for more axles. Let's just preemptively clear out a bit more space. This access hatch up into the windmill chamber is going to have to be accessed by a staircase of some kind, because we'll have to make basically a roof. There are going to be chests funneled into these guys here, accessible from up top, and so we'll just kind of have a little bit of a room here and build a facade wall around the front. And as all of my ramblings, it'll make a lot more sense once we can actually see it happening. Look at those gears spin. We're going sicko mode. And for those of you very familiar with automation and the quern in general, you're probably thinking I'm going to need spots on all 4 sides to be able to effectively collect everything that's going to pop out. And for peak efficiency rate, yes, you would be correct. But if I wall off 3 sides of it and have just the one side with a shared little hopper between the pulverizer and the quern, sure, every time it tries to pop something out in a different direction, it'll fail and it just will try crushing that rock again. That'll make it run a little bit slower, but that's perfectly fine with how fast this thing's gonna spin. That's still super quick. Don't even get me started with how fast the pulverizer's gonna go through stacks of stuff. Is mighty quick. Mighty, mighty quick. Faster than our Helvhammers, I dare say. And this speed, I don't think will matter for the pottery wheel. I don't think it calculates based on the actual speed output. I think if it's hooked up to mechanical power, it just runs faster. Where am I going to put that? I forgot about that until the last second. Is there going to be anything right here? Well, I don't want that exposed. I'll just run a line underground somewhere for it. Just like the quern. But since we are out of fat and can't make any more axles, let's go check on the pigs. It has been a couple months since we last looked at them.
No, minutes for all of you, but it's many months in game for me. Oh. Why are there so many of you outside? How did you all get out? Why did you all get out? What are you all doing? You silly birds. Pigs? Oh. Oh, they're having a party down there. Look at them, they're raving. Hello? Oh, there's so many of you. Oh, we're gonna have to expand this space, aren't we? We're gonna have to give Dog the Moose his own home. Okay. Well, oh boy. How am I gonna get you all up here? Rope? One at a time? Maybe. Let's grab ourselves a rope and see what we can do. Maybe grab some grain to feed them. I have a feeling we're gonna need more troughs than what we have. There's a lot of pigs. 4 generations of hungry mouths to feed. Alright, piggies. Come eat. Get upstairs. I'm standing on them, there's so many. Okay. Okay. We're gonna use a similar tactic to before. There's a lot of them to rope. I don't know if roping is gonna be the easiest way. Let's try a bucket of water and see if I can just lure them upstairs. Alright, little piggies. Oh, it's chaos. Oh, this is chaos incarnate. Look at all them pigs. They're leapfrogging everywhere. Go on. Get to where the food's at. Please. Please go up the stairs. I'm begging you. I would very much appreciate you to go upstairs. Up the stairs. Come on. Oh, boy. I know it's crowded up there, but it's crowded down here. Please, come on. Let's go. Come on. I can't even get up the stairs. There's too many of them. Come along with me, and I'll bring you to the feed. There's a lot of you already up here. See if I can get more up here, and then I might actually just be able to get rid of some of these, because we're going to be very overpopulated unless we heavily expand this area. If all of these have a litter of, like, what, 4 or 5 piglets, that's... I think they're going to start dying from entity cramming. I am the shepherd, and this is my flock. My porcine pack. My hog, Herodrim? It's quite a treasure there you've got in that Herodric pigsty. What am I saying? Alright, pigs, come on. Up the stairs, up the stairs. One man is blocking traffic. Leave it to a man to not ask for directions. Get up the stairs. Alright, guys, there's a little bit of a traffic jam here. We're gonna have to start moving, alright? Come over to these ones. Everybody, please. Vacate the doorway. It's a fire hazard. I think with each attempt at this, I am pushing more and more of them up the staircase. I don't know if that sound was just my headset, or if that was something. I suppose we really do only need 1 boar. The rest are, well, little vestigial, I suppose. Let's sort out our little overcrowding problem just ever so slightly. With a cleaver. Don't eat. No, don't eat your fallen friend. That's a little morbid. Now, I doubt 11 fat will be all that we need. But it's a decent replenishment, at least for the moment. Let's see how much more we can get done on these little mechanical misadventures. There we go. That's 2 lines.
Oh, look at him spin. Oh, yeah, spin so fast, spin so good.
Oh, that feels good. That feels better than it should. Okay, now for the more complex bits here. So we gotta go under some of this to get to the quern.
Okay, so it's going to get very, very tight back here to the point where I probably won't really be able to move around at all. So with these two lines going off toward the Hellhammer and the Pulverizer, these two are going to have a little bit further distance, so there'll be a little bit more load on those systems, and that's okay. Because they're going to be going on to the Quern and the Pottery Wheel respectively, those ones aren't quite as high demand for power, or at least we're not going to need them to be processing quite as much, quite as fast. Especially since, as I mentioned, the Pottery Wheel doesn't really care about how fast it's spinning. It just cares that it spin, and spin it will do. So each of these are going to get progressively more snaky going around. Because one of these lines, I think the farthest one I'll do for the Pottery Wheel. But from here, we're going to have to come up and over and around into that transmission, and then curve out right away and go down into here, into this little trench to run up into the Quern. The Pottery Wheel might have to just go off over here somewhere. Yeah. Because then we can go up and around and in this side, come out the far side, go down underground and pop up somewhere visible where the Pottery Wheel is going to sit. I think that might be the best way to go about it. But regardless, we're going to need a lot more fat to be able to actually finish this. Let's feed the piggies a little bit more. I think one thing that's going to be necessary is having a 2-block lip at the top of the staircase, so once they leave the basement, they can't decide to turn around and re-enter like they have been. Once you have all eaten your fill, and are with child, the men will be culled. I hope this is acceptable. Well, I don't hear any complaints. I guess they're okay with it. Well, alright then. Pig society is brutal.
As long as there's one boar left, everything's fine. We only need one. One boar shall finish propagating the next generation, but not you.
Ah, and you're well fed, too.
Good. Yes. Your weight is low. You live. And I will leave the last one alive, just to finish the generational processing. Excellent. Alright, please vacate the door premises, please. I have 20 lumps of fat. I could do more mechanical work. I need to put your meat, the flesh away. Why must you all yearn for freedom? I know it's cramped in here. It's not exactly the best living conditions, but please. I can't believe you've done this. Go back inside. Go back inside. Good. It's a lot of meat. I think I'm gonna have to salt more of this. You've done well, Cleaver. Hey, with 20 more fat, we might just have a chance at, possibly, almost completing this, this entire mechanical endeavor. Probably not entirely, but at the very least we can get the quern hooked up. The pottery wheel? Maybe. Okay. Hey, look at it spin. Excellent. Now just the pottery wheel. So this one's gonna be a little tight, I think. So from that up one directly under the ladder, I think we'll have to go. So I'll get the gear there. Ooh, I think we're gonna be just a little short. Yeah, we're definitely gonna be short getting the pottery wheel hooked up, but that's okay. So we can't quite get the pottery wheel hooked up, but that's alright. We can at least get it kind of in place based on where this is all going to go. So we'll be coming out from here, which that will be out one. We'll have a gear here, bring it straight down. Pop it up somewhere around here. So if we have our cover here, our instructions here, could probably have the pottery wheel somewhere about here, maybe there. We'll see once the rest of the mechanisms are in place, but at the very least we have 3 of our 4 machines all hooked up. Gotta say, not too shabby in terms of progress on the workshop today. Just look at that chaos behind me. I love it when a plan comes together. Let's head on back over to the house, have a little sit down, and discuss a couple of things. So, now is the actual time to begin discussing our plans for spring. So as we see outside, it's still cold, it's still snowy, but the temperature's going to be rising fairly quickly and fairly soon. So now comes the time for a decision. Do we build a greenhouse or just wait a few extra days? Because a greenhouse could have been serving us well for getting a head start on the flax growing season. And for a fun little something, we're gonna need a bit of flax to make a little bit of dyed cloth of a few different colors. Is there something very special I want to put together? Something I made. So for those of you who have been scouring the mod database, you may have come across this. I stuck my toes in the water and gave modding a try, and oh boy, I haven't touched coding since 2009. It's been a long time for this lad. But, ironically enough, just in time for spring, when I won't need it anymore, I've put together a Canadian winter clothing mod. It's got 4 new pieces of gear here. We've got some boots, some trousers with suspenders, because of course we need suspenders, a flannel lumberjack shirt, and a nice, warm, fuzzy sweater, sporting, of course, a maple leaf, because Canada. But we'll see what the future holds for any potential more modding that I might try and get on into. It was a task and a half figuring out the coding just to add clothes. Took me 7 different tries to get the boots to not crash the game. And then I immediately redid the boots because I didn't like the way they looked. But now I quite like them. So I'll probably get to crafting these once the spring comes around, but the one thing we're going to need for these 2 pieces here is red cloth. Black cloth's easy enough, we've already got gray dye, we just need to add some more metal to it. We'll portion it out into another barrel and turn that into black dye. The red we're going to need cinnabar, that ever-elusive material we've been hunting after. So once we're able to get ourselves a little bit more flax, oil up some pelts, and track down that elusive cinnabar, we'll be in business. We'll look quite Canadian. But I think with some of those being time sensitive, and since we just used up all our fat on mechanical stuff, we're gonna have to wait on that from the pigs, and wait on the weather for the flax. So the cinnabar hunt begins again. But that'll have to be for next time. We've already gone through a few months in this episode as it is. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. With all of the building and the machinery and the pigs. And a special shout out to all of our channel members. Thank you all so much for your support. You're the greatest. And I do have to say, I'm sorry for the delay on this. Being sick kind of threw everything off, and I've had a few other small obligations in the meantime. So there was a couple things just delaying the progress. Plus, you know, building this actually pretty well took until after I was already better. It's been a lot of building. Well worth it, I think. But thank you all once again. And I'll see you next time, where we're probably going to round out our 3rd year. You're all fantastic. I love you. Goodbye. I keep hearing a shiver somewhere in here, and I don't know where. It's not like he can hide in the roof. You in here? Nope. I don't know where it is, but I'm hearing him. He's in the walls.